Well, hello everybody. It's a cold night in Toronto or just outside Toronto. I'll give it that minute to let people log on. Sorry I'm late. Still trying to warm up the truck, so I guess I'll hang tight here and I'll do my live here. I want to show everybody what I'm going through now as a double vaxxed and awaiting my Pfizer booster that seems nearly impossible to get, and we're going to get into that. But this is now my new legacy going forward for vaccination. For those vaccinated, see that? I now have to, through my employer, mandate in the province of Ontario, double vaccinated, regardless if I got a booster or not, wouldn't matter. From now on, I do 2 rapid tests a week to prove I don't have COVID-19 just to be employed. There's no such thing as vaccinated or unvaccinated in Canada. In fact, the worst being, and I'm going to tell everybody, and this is fact. So, in Southern Ontario right now, through the GTA, outside of the GTA, both directions, east and west, a good portion of highly populated Toronto and greater area, much greater area outside of the official GTA. I can tell you that for all 6 nation reserves attached to communities, those who did Pfizer are being forced over the age of 30 to take a booster. Take a booster by another manufacturer. Later today, after I sleep, when I get home, I'm going to do a Facebook Live, the official recordings of Ontario Health Services and absolutely the United States of America, the Pfizer manufacturer, and the 18-minute interview. I would love to show it on my phone and share it. I can share the Ontario Health Services because it's short. They actually hang up on me when questioned several times why the Pfizer protocol from the manufacturer of the United States of America says you don't mix their vaccine. You don't force people to take other brands of vaccines if they've been double vaccinated by Pfizer. They don't recommend that. They don't outline that in the entirety of their presentation. And they give me the entire thing as it was 22 months ago as it is today. Nothing's changed. FDA has not approved it. It's an emergency use. They do give a lot that discredits and disproves anti-vax, but it absolutely proves beyond any reasonable doubt that Justin Trudeau, Aaron O'Toole, Jagmeet Singh, and all provincial politicians are absolutely 100% full of shit. They lie beyond belief. Again, for those joining me, I now have to do 2 rapid tests a week to stay employed. Double vaccinated, don't matter. Even if I have the booster, don't matter. This is life in Canada now, to remain employed, at least in the province of Ontario, at least for me. So, what's the research I did? I've gone through Southern Ontario, cross-referenced every single county, district in Southern Ontario so far, highly populated Ontario, which districts get triple Pfizer and which are mandating that you mix vaccines and will not give you Pfizer to complete your dose regime. And guess what? So far I've discovered, ladies and gentlemen, absolutely 100% verifiable, that all 6 nation reserves plus 2 other non-6 nation reserves thus far, I'm not done, I have a long way to go, but so far absolutely every county or district that has 0 reserves, 0 treaty Indians, none whatsoever. And for everybody, Treaty 6 is one of 3 of the largest Canadian Indian First Peoples Reserve, and I say Canadian Indian because I keep the legal speak alive. It's for the benefit of the First Peoples. They all, absolutely all so far, are mandated to mix vaccines over the age of 30, whether you're Canadian or of a first person, but absolutely all counties and districts thus far are mandating that you mix vaccines. If there are no treaty Indians and no reserves in your county and district, you get all 3 Pfizer or all 3 Moderna. You don't have to mix anything. Now I'm going to give you the absolute facts from the manufacturers themselves, specifically Pfizer, because this is the biggest thing in Ontario right now. To put it in perspective, everybody, there's huge uproar. As I told you, there would be. Tens of thousands of people have refused the mixed booster. They've told Ontario Health Services to get stuffed, and for good reason. If you read like myself, if you kept up with this all through its entirety, and you chose Pfizer, for example, which I did because of all the reading, and that's the one I chose, you will know that every single manufacturer has a wide variety of issues, things that can happen to you. Now, there's small percentages, it's true. That's not a lie. Thus far, according to statistics of those who've gotten the shots, it is true. 0.075 for Pfizer for some of the serious stuff. It's really rare. Some cases 1 in 10,000, 17 of them. Pretty good roll of the dice, right? But now what happens, ladies and gentlemen, when you do a regime that you passed? So you're one of those 9,999 out of a 10,000, right? You're 999,000 out of that 10,000 that passed that. Then you switch over to Moderna or AstraZeneca or any other vaccine manufacturer, completely different design, different everything, including all the lists of all the issues that can happen to you. You actually take a multiplier. We do this in statistics. It's no longer out of 10,000 anymore, ladies and gentlemen. You're more like 3,500. And depending on what you took and what the complications are associated with that, it can be even less than that. Now you can say, hey, it's still really rare. Listen, Justin Trudeau, Aaron O'Toole, and all the provincial and other federal leaders, lying losers, autocrats, filthy lying first-class cheats. You got people to get on board because people thought you would follow the manufacturer. Now, I'm a welder. I've been in quality control for many years. I've actually done quality control and QA procedures for some big shops. I did one in Edmonton, Alberta, a valve shop. People can say it's not a big deal. I got them full certification for CSA, AWS, all their quality assurance, and all the codes, boiler code, all of it. Many codes, ladies and gentlemen. B311, I could go on. It is huge. It's a huge career when you get into those sections. And I've done that. And I'm going to tell you right now, you don't bypass manufacturers. Never, not once, not ever, none whatsoever. When you do that, your liability's gone. Now here's what the manufacturers say. Now, hear me out, everybody. If a manufacturer states their statistics, their guarantees with their drug or their product, what happens when you mix their product with another product? What does that do to the statistical analysis of the product you took? You can take that product statistical analysis, wipe your ass with it and throw it out the window. It's been voided. The liability automatically goes to the taxpayers. Justin Trudeau already said it did, but the reality is, in the United States of America, if Pfizer or any of the manufacturers, pharmaceutical companies, lie and their statistics don't add up to what they stated they were because they made up statistical analysis to get their drug approved, they go to prison, they get hunted down, they get bankrupted, they get sued for big dinero. There is no escape in the United States of America, regardless of the Congress bills passed and people talk about that with vaccines. I can promise you I have the best legal experts in the world, and I can prove beyond any reasonable doubt if you purposely smudge numbers or you purposely smudge statistics, there's no escape for you in the United States of America. Now, if things happen on emergency that you didn't know about, you tested for, and you can prove that, no harm, no foul. They do guarantee that. But if you lie and you get caught, which is why statistics is so important, which is why you do not mix vaccines. Pfizer will tell you, and you're going to hear in the interview I had with Pfizer from the United States of America, real, credible, and verifiable, you're more than welcome to change vaccines. It does void Pfizer or Moderna or the rest of them. However you decide to mix them, you voided any statistical analysis of those vaccines. You get injured, it's your problem, it's on the government system. There's no liability from it. It's your free will and choice to do that. Pfizer tells you, hey, we guarantee this with our entire dose regime. Outside of that, we don't guarantee it. Your choice. What's changed is Canada's forcing you out of Pfizer's regime. And Pfizer's not cool with that. They have no idea. I can tell you, there's even more stories from countries around the world who took adult third doses and applied them to children, which is wrong, wrong, wrong. It was never mandated by the manufacturers. There's huge issues with governments doing that. Now you have Justin Trudeau and the rest of the autocrats, Doug Ford, mandating this across the province. I can tell you right now, in Bowmanville, Aaron O'Toole's riding, you can get 3 Pfizers and a booster because there's no reserves there. There is another reserve, but it's outside of that county. Isn't that funny? And guess what? That county, no 3-shot Pfizers because there's a Treaty Indian Reserve there. So far, ladies and gentlemen, when I cross-reference reserve, Treaty Indians to county and district, they're mandating you to mix vaccines throughout southern Ontario. Thus far, I'm not done. There's a lot more to do. But so far, every single one, all through all the GTA, all the way somewhat past that, and all the way eastern before that, I have absolutely every county and district with a Treaty Indian Reserve absolutely mixing vaccines and mandating it for those over 30. I told you about the multiplier. Now we're going to get into the specific culture of the First Peoples of Canada, which is the same peoples of the American Indian. And Pfizer knows all about this too. Now, I want you all to hear me out. I want Treaty Indians, as I call them, Treaty Indians that keep the legal speak alive. I want you to know something, not to be ashamed. Your immune systems are weaker than the rest of Canadians of European, Southeast Asian, African descent because you were never exposed to the Roman Empire. Now, hear me out. You never lived filthy like Europeans did, and we're going to get into the Dark Ages. There was a period, there was an East and West Rome. They had plumbing, they had sanitation, they had aqueducts. They were civilized. They had nowhere near the disease. Now there's leprosy and other issues, but they had nowhere near the disease that followed from the Dark Ages. Modern Europe, all through the Black Plague, all of it, all these diseases that affected European immune systems happened after the fall of Rome. What happened is religious leaders, we saw this in the Southeast Asian portion of Eastern Rome, and there's Western Rome, which is all of Europe and everywhere. There was a huge empire, everybody. Went all the way down through the Asia, Arabic world. That was Rome. They had control of the world, had all this great technology. When it fell, it was called the Dark Ages. All the books were burned. Within 20 years, nobody could read or write. All technology lost. Aqueducts started to crack, crumble. Plumbing no longer worked. We can see what a toilet will last. Imagine what would happen to natural plumbing systems in this vast empire spanning Southeast Asia, Europe, all of the Arabic world, into the Asian world. Okay, we call it Southeast Asia, but it covers a huge amount of different races here. All that technology lost, the common people lost the ability to read and write. Within decades, literally decades, things start to crumble, water gets poisoned, sanitation no longer works. There's no more toilets, there's no more feces and urine going out. People now pee and poop in pots. They stack up on top of each other in the poor communities. They dump their piss and shit in the streets, let it run down the streets. Okay? Disease went rampant in the Dark Ages. Worst plagues known to man, worst pestilence in recorded history were in these Dark Ages. It transformed Europeans, Southeast Asians, Arabic, the Asian world, all entirely. Filthy, gross, disgusting, a real imperial system where colonialism is birthed. The immune systems were changed because of filth, pure and simple filth. Filth. That is not the first people's way, the American Indian way, the Canadian Indian way, Inuit, Métis. It's not their way, never was. They were never a filthy people. Clean immune systems, very clean immune systems. Never exposed to any of these diseases. Nothing to be ashamed about being a very clean human being. There's not so much in what's called the Dark Ages of human history in those areas of the former Roman Empire and what happened, why they call it the Dark Ages, what goes all the way up to the 1800s. Because of that, when that European movement came to North America and South America and Central America, disease went rampant because immune systems had never seen that kind of filth. You're talking about clean people. And even to this day, this is a well-known fact by all COVID-19 manufacturers. All of them have already listed the American Indian and the First Peoples, as well as South American indigenous, which are a lot like the North American Indians, but I'm just going to focus on North America for now because it's one group of peoples. Absolute. We're not going to get into Aztec and Mayan, even though there is the Aztec in southern USA, the Utes. But the reality is all the manufacturers know of the immune system. They're well versed in virology and disease. CDC understands this. FDA even understands this. Great care was put into that. The last people who should be mixing vaccines, regardless of being reduced from 10,000 to 3,500, is Treaty Indians, especially unceded or seeded, doesn't matter. You're the last peoples who should be mixing vaccines. I took great care in this with my girlfriend, her entire family, including her Treaty Indian grandson, in our care, who's now been shot with Pfizer. What is going to happen when his booster comes up? What is the government's plan here? If they're going to reduce this for the Treaty Indian people who are most susceptible to COVID-19, why would all those regions be the target? To me, it's very clear, as in all of Canada's history, Treaty Indians are targeted. They will expense all Canadian citizens attached to any lands treaty or unceded. So far, like I said, for Ontario, what I've gone through, it's all Treaty Indians so far. And that is clear. You can't dispute it. You can get a wide range of experts. Anyone can cross-reference the health data, the imposing areas and regions that now say they're going to impose boosters of mixing vaccinations. Again, everybody, it's on all counties and districts with registered reserve Treaty Indians inside them. Massive for all 6 nations. And another one just outside Aaron O'Toole's riding, but it's in a different county. And they and all those in that county don't get a Pfizer if you're over 30, but Aaron O'Toole's all white or Canadian riding, I shouldn't say white, I should say all Canadian free of First Peoples, which is the Treaty Indian, free in his riding, all get 3 Pfizers, but all the counties beside him, all the way through the GTA attached to Treaty Indian reserves, don't get it. They get mandated, all those over 30 are to mix vaccines. Treaty Indians are the last people who should be forced to do that. And they're put on the chopping block first. It's why when you call Ontario Health Services, as you will hear in my video tomorrow, I keep repeating the Treaty Indian. I do that for every Canadian and absolutely every first person, the Treaty Indians of Ontario and all of Canada. Because it wouldn't surprise me if this is universal right across Canada. We'll see it for Métis, Inuit, and we'll see it likely for all treaty or unceded right across Canada. I bet you. I don't know. We're going to see. I'm going to continue on with Ontario and see where we're at. It's disgusting. It's verifiable. It's truthful. It's deadly accurate. It's real, everybody. Tomorrow, I hope you join, or sorry, tonight I should say. Tonight, join me. I'm going to have a good rest. I'm off for the weekend. I'm going to do a great video. I'm going to put it up on the board. I'm going to amplify the sound to make sure you can all hear the audio recordings clearly. You'll hear my voice. It's me. It really happened. It really is Ontario Health Services, and that really is Pfizer USA, everything you hear. I couldn't fake this if my life depended on it. It's such a great presentation by Pfizer. Who could fake that? And there's still another call coming from Pfizer. It's going up the chain. It's disgusting. More statistics for you all, just to prove a point. Like I said, half of those who went through what I went through in Ontario, literally tens of thousands, said screw you to Ontario Health Services. I'm not going to take a mixed vaccine. A lot of people, like I said, 10,000 so far. There'll be more as more and more go in and find out they've been bamboozled. More and more fully vaccinated people are going to find out this is your new reality. There's no such thing as vaccinated in Canada. There's no such thing as freedom. That was never the autocrats' plan. It was never their position. They claim false stats of America, which I'm going to give you something that you should all know anyway. Many months ago, in fact, during Trump administration, when New York hit its numbers with its large retired population, to prove a point here, everybody knows Angus Reid. He's a famous Canadian, does all the terrific polling for elections, very smart man, loses it on Twitter tonight, goes through, brings up my ICUs, does a great job, but you know what he's missing? Even though USA has way more ICUs than Canada, way more capacity beds, and yes, their private system bolsters that, but what they're not telling you, and what I just told Angus Reid tonight, is I said, Angus Reid, the United States of America's military, proven by Donald Trump, rolled out an entire COVID aircraft carrier, put in the Bay of New York, ready to receive any and all ICUs on that aircraft carrier and isolate. They could easily do all of New York. America could convert most of their foreign military, meaning they could go cash their chips in, and they only charge one fraction of $1 billion for a mighty military force for South Korea at a huge discount, ladies and gentlemen. America could pull those 30,000 troops, massive ships, aircraft carrier, air support, bring it all back and increase capacity. With just their foreign military, they can increase ICU and hospital bed capacity with their military budget without batting an eye 18 times that of Canada. 18 times. If you don't believe me, Google search, you will find, and I shared this a long time ago, Donald Trump rolled out the aircraft carrier for New York, ready to go. They didn't need it, but the U.S. military can easily multiply their already overabundance of ICU and medical beds by a factor of 18 to 1 to Canada. Massive scale. There's no such thing as a pandemic that can stop the United States of America. The same is true for Russia. These massive military budgets that everybody screams their head off can quickly and really quickly be converted to the civilian population and still fight wars and still defeat most countries in the world. Both Russia and USA are capable of doing this. This is the joke, the lie called Canada. We're a joke. We're a lie. We don't have the best healthcare system. It's fraud. Fraud, theft of the taxpayer. They rape you. They charge obscene amounts of tax dollars, and you get nothing. Get nothing for the bang for your buck. They just steal it, pocket it, make a whole bunch of fat cat foreign interests very rich. Liberals, conservatives, NDP, they all do it. They don't like any of you. And if they really cared, it wouldn't be a guy like me cross-referencing the districts and communities to reserves against who's mandated to take forced vaccine mixing and who isn't. And you will find everything I've told you is true. And I can't wait to finish in Ontario. I'll do that this weekend. Also this weekend, I'm going to do this video tomorrow night, but I have to start, as I promised, to send out to all the chiefs for the UNSCP 5 reporting, that educational video. That starts Sunday. That's all going to be private. No one's going to see that. I will update everybody, but this is just for the chiefs who've logged residential school children's bodies. I have it all mapped out. I don't listen to anybody. 1,863 bodies verified and found for the First Peoples here in Canada. I have them all marked out on a map. I went through all the data. There's no 7,000 found. There's no only 1,100. I have all 1,863 officially. I have them logged and mapped, as I disclosed to all of you many posts ago, probably a couple weeks ago now. The government of Canada under Justin Trudeau and Aaron O'Toole, absolutely Jagmeet Singh, and all the provincial governments. Doug Ford's also involved in this. He's the Premier of Ontario, by the way. But isn't it funny that Aaron O'Toole's riding, you get all three Pfizer? Accident? No. It's called corruption, everybody. I bet you'll find the same thing for Justin Trudeau's home riding. I bet you'll find the same thing in Vancouver for Jagmeet Singh's home riding. It's all fixed. And I'm going to be sharing all this with Angus Reid, who does all the major polling, most respected Canadian in all of Canada for polling. That's a fact. He's losing it too now. He knows the jig's up. Like a lot of us now, a lot of us are looking at this like, wow, Canada did. Canada is the evil crown, just like I said it was. I've always said it was. It's always been. The royal family's there on the international scene. They've been busted now absolutely since 1975 and onward, the Queen of England and Australia. I guarantee you, if we had a system of accountability in Canada to catch that, we would find out they've been doing this all along. There is no independence. It's all autocracy. It's all against the UN Charter 1945. It's a slap in the face to Russia. It's a slap in the face to the United States of America in its entirety, Democrat or Republican alike. It's a slap in the face of China. The royal family has to be stopped. The Canadian autocrats have to be stopped. It's no different in Australia, no different in New Zealand, no different in many of the Commonwealth countries. The worst of the worst. Thanks, that's my video. I am so tragically sorry to tell Treaty Indians this news. I hope you take the good of this history of Rome. Understand what you're facing here. The manufacturers know, the virologists know. The Federal Drug Administration of the United States knows. This Center of Disease Control knows. Everybody knows. Those experts all know. And you were factored. It's the government of Canada that's unfactoring you. And they'd only do that if they're hoping, just hoping, that those reduced numbers, when you multiply the variations of vaccines, will wipe out that many more Treaty Indians. They will make no expense of any Canadian system. The reality is, everybody, no Canadian citizen or first person is in the Constitution of Canada, Constitutional Act of Canada, 1876/1982. And for all those screaming charter, read the fine print after the charter, read section 35 before the charter, and absolutely read the Crown powers kept from the 1876, going through all the powers of the Crown, of all the executive of government, provincial and federal alike. Go through it, learn the system called Canada. There's only one class of citizen covered in the Constitution of Canada, Act 1876/1982, and that truly is only your first class citizens, i.e., your elected and appointed politicians. It's only them. None of the rest of us exist. That's my video. Share, share, share. Make a stand. Protect those most vulnerable, which is not what the government of Canada in all political parties, or at least the provincial government of Ontario in all the parties in opposition, are doing. They're doing the opposite. They say speak out of one side of face, and then they turn around and do another, which is on the lines of genocide, which historically is what they always do. One last thing, it's going to be a separate video. The settlement of the $40 billion for all the First Peoples in the social system, children taken in all its entirety, the $40 billion proposed settlement. In Canada, we're going to do a whole thing on common law. For all those lunatics who talk about common law, I'm going to tell you, and if you don't believe me, I got Richard Albert, a good friend of mine, master of law, smartest man in Canada in law, in constitutional law, understands all law, in fact, director of law for the state of Texas, 30 million people, 10th smartest man in constitutional law in the United States of America, in the top 10. He'll tell you, and so will any supply of doctorates you go to look for, common law is the law of precedent. With this $40 billion precedent for these First Peoples of Canada, there are 10 times that amount of Quebecois, 10 times the amount of First Peoples in this $40 billion settlement. That means, according to common law of precedent, this decision made for the First Peoples for the $40 billion in their numbers, the Quebecois have 10 times that numbers in their same genocide. It will be $400 billion. To put that in perspective, nearly $500 billion, or more than all of what Harper borrowed in 2008 and 9 as an entire reign as Prime Minister of Canada, which was equivalent to everything ever borrowed for all Canadians' history before him. Every single Prime Minister combined. Justin Trudeau's doubled that, meaning Stephen Harper plus all preceding Prime Ministers. Think about the settlement for the Quebecois would be equivalent to what Stephen Harper borrowed, meaning the entire amount of Canada's history. It's an unbelievable amount of money. It's way beyond anything. And it's going to come not only out of the first or third class citizen, the taxpayer, and all those to come an unpaid backable amount. It will destroy Canadians working, but it's going to absolutely rob the First Peoples of everything. You will get reduced in everything. For the money you get this settlement, you will pay it back tenfold in reduced funding for the entirety. You will lose massive land. Massive land. There is no good deed that goes unpunished for the government of Canada upon its citizens, and especially on the First Peoples of Canada. It's sad. This is all true, verifiable. Share, share, share. As it's true, again, credible, and absolutely 100% verifiable. The only one who would present it to you. The rest will lie, cheat, steal, rape, murder, pillage, and plunder, because that's who the first class are. Read your Canadian Constitution. It's disgusting, sick. It's depraved. These people are psychotic, sick narcissists in a delusion of a divine right. They believe they're gods over you. You're either the savage Indian or you're the slave, peasant, third class, not worth a piece of ass wipe. That's the truth. No regard for your lives whatsoever. You're not in the Constitution of Canada. You've never been. Only they are. I know.